Hello friends, I am Aditi. Welcome to my channel Library Mouse. Today I am going to read a book, How to Develop Self-Confidence and Influence People by Public Speaking by Dale Carnegie. This book contains 12 chapters, so let's start with Chapter 2, Self-Confidence Through Preparation. It has been the author's professional duty as well as his pleasure to listen to and criticize approximately 6,000 speeches a year each session since 1912. These were made not by college students but by mature business and professional men. If that experience has engraved on his mind any one thing more deeply than another, surely it is this: the urgent necessity of preparing a talk before one starts to make it and of having something clear and definite to say, something that has impressed one, something that won't stay unsaid. Aren't you unconsciously drawn to the speaker who you feel has a real message in his head and heart that he jealously desires to communicate to your head and heart? That is half the secret of speaking. When a speaker is in that kind of mental and emotional state, he will discover a significant fact, namely that his talk will almost make itself. Its yoke will be easy, its burden will be light. A well-prepared speech is already 9/10 delivered. The primary reason why most people want this training, as was recorded in Chapter 1, is to acquire confidence and courage and self-reliance. And the one fatal mistake many make is neglecting to prepare their talks. How can they even hope to subdue the cohorts of fear, the cavalry of nervousness, when they go into the battle with the wet powder and blank shells, or with no ammunition at all? Under the circumstances, small wonder that they are not exactly at home before an audience. I believed, said Lincoln in the White House, that I shall never be old enough to speak without embarrassment when I have nothing to say. If you want confidence, why not do the things necessary to bring it out? Perfect love, wrote the Apostle John, casteth out fear, so does perfect preparation. Webster said he would as soon think of appearing before an audience half-clothed as half-prepared. Why don't we prepare our talks more carefully? Why? Some don't clearly understand what preparation is nor how to go about it wisely. Others plead a lack of time. So we shall discuss these problems rather fully in this chapter. The right way to prepare. What is preparation? Reading a book? That is one kind, but not the best. Reading may help, but if one attempts to lift a lot of candid thoughts out of a book and to give them out immediately as his own, the whole performance will be lacking in something. The audience may not know precisely what is lacking, but they will not warm to the speaker. To illustrate, some time ago, the writer conducted a course in public speaking for the senior officers of New York City banks. Naturally, the members of such a group, having many demands upon their time, frequently found it difficult to prepare adequately or to do what they conceived of as preparing. All their lives they had been thinking their own individual thoughts, nurturing their own professional convictions, seeing things from their own distinctive angles, living their own original experiences. So in that fashion they had spent 40 years sorting up material for speeches. But it was hard for some of them to realize that. They could not see the forest for the murmuring pines and the hemlocks. This group met Friday evenings from 5 to 7. One Friday, a certain gentleman connected with an uptown bank. For our purpose, we shall designate him as Mr. Jackson. Found 4:30 had arrived. And what was he to talk about? He walked out of his office, bought a copy of Forbes magazine at a newsstand, and in the subway coming down to the Federal Reserve Bank, where the class met, he read an article entitled, "You have only 10 years to succeed." He read it, not because he was interested in the article specially, but because he must speak on something on anything to fill his quota of time. An hour later, he stood up and attempted to talk convincingly and interestingly on the contents of this article. What was the result? The inevitable result. He had not digested, had not assimilated what he was trying to say. Trying to say, that expresses it precisely. He was trying. There was no real message in him seeking for an outlet, and his whole manner and tone revealed it unmistakably. How could he expect the audience to be any more impressed than he himself was? He kept referring to the article, saying the author said so and so. There was a surfeit of Forbes magazine in it, but regrettably little of Mr. Jackson. So the writer addressed him somewhat in this fashion. Mr. Jackson, we are not interested in this shadowy personality who wrote that article. He is not here. We can't see him. But we are interested in you and your ideas. Tell us what you think personally, not what somebody else said. Put more of Mr. Jackson in this. Why not take the same subject for next week? Why not read this article again and ask yourself whether you agree with the author or not? If you do, think out his suggestion and illustrate them with observation from your own experience. If you don't agree with him, say so and tell us why. Let this article be merely the starting point from which you launch your own speech. Mr. Jackson accepted the suggestion, reread the article and concluded that he did not agree with the author at all. He did not sit down in the subway and try to prepare this next speech to order. He let it grow. It was a child of his own brain, and it developed and expanded and took an stature just as his physical children had done. And like his daughters, this other child grew day and night when he was least conscious of it. One thought was suggested to him while reading some item in the newspaper. Another illustration swam into his mind unexpectedly. When he was discussing the subject with a friend, the thing depended and heightened, lengthened and thickened as he thought over it during the odd moments of the week. The next time Mr. Jackson spoke on this subject, he had something that was his, or that he dug out of his own mind, currency coined in his own mint, and he spoke all the better because he was disagreeing with the author of the article. There is no spur to rouse one like a little opposition. What an incredible contrast between these two speeches by the same man, in the same fortnight, on the same subject. What a colossal difference the right kind of preparation makes. Let us cite another illustration of how to do it and how not to do it. A gentleman, whom we shall call Mr. Flynn, was a student of public speaking in Washington, D.C. One afternoon, he devoted his talk to eulogizing the capital city of the nation. He had hesitantly and superficially gleaned his facts from a booster booklet issued by a newspaper. They sounded like it, dry, disconnected, undigested. He had not thought over his subject adequately. It had not ill-cated his enthusiasm. He did not feel what he was saying deeply enough to make it worthwhile expressing. The whole affair was flat and flavorless and unprofitable. A speech that could not fail. A fortnight later, something happened that touched Mr. Flynn to the core. A thief stole his car out of a public garage. He rushed to the police and offered rewards, but it was all in vain. The police admitted that it was well-nigh impossible for them to cope with the crime situation. Yet only a week previously, they had found time to walk out the street, chalk in hand, and find Mr. Flynn because he had parked his car 15 minutes over time. These chalk cops, who were so busy that they could not catch criminals, aroused his ire. He was indignant. He had something now to say. Not something that he had gotten out of a booklet issued by the newspaper, but something that was leaping hot out of his own life and experience. Here was something that was part and parcel of the real man, something that had aroused his feelings and convictions. In his speech, eulogizing the city of Washington, He had laboriously pulled out sentences by sentence, but now he had but to stand on his feet and open his mouth, and his condemnation of the police welled up and boiled forth like Vesuvius in action. A speech like that is almost foolproof. It can hardly fail. It was experience plus reflection. What preparation really is? Does the preparation of a speech mean the getting together of some faultless phrases write down or memorized? No. Does it mean the assembling of a few casual thoughts that really convey very little to you personally? Not at all. It means tie assembling of your thoughts, your ideas, your convictions, your urges. And you have such thoughts, such urges. You have them every day of your walking life. Even they swarm through your dreams. Your whole existence has been filled with feelings and experiences. These things are lying deep in your subconscious mind, as thick as pebbles on the seashore. Preparation means thinking, brooding, recalling, selecting the ones that appeal to you most, polishing them, working them into a pattern, a mosaic of your own. That doesn't sound like such a difficult program, does it? It isn't, just requires a little concentration and thinking to a purpose. How did Dwight L. Moody prepare those addresses of his which made spiritual history? I have no secret. He replied in answer to that question. When I choose a subject, I write the name of it on the outside of a large envelope. I have many such envelopes. If, when I am reading, I meet a good thing on any subject I am to speak on, I slipped it into the night envelope and let it lie there. I always carry a notebook, and if I hear anything in a sermon that will throw light on that subject, I put it down and slip it into the envelope. Perhaps I let it lie there for a year or more. When I want a new sermon, I take everything that has been accumulating between what I find there and the result of my own study. I have material enough. Then all the time I am going over my sermons, taking out a little here, adding a little there. In that way, they never get old. Here, this is half a part of chapter 2. In next video, we will continue this. Thank you so much for listening it, and I hope it is understandable to you. If you enjoy watching my videos, do like, subscribe and share with your family and friends. Thank you.